Hello and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore of the Old World, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our ghouls from our goblins, our snotlings from our Skaven storm fiends, and our bloodthirsters from our bloodletters, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer stuff?
Wowzers.
My name is Ben Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about Warhammer. With me is my co-host, Christopher Crowlin Allen.
Good morning, everybody. Morning.
Who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer.
My sinuses.
And my incredibly irritating brother Darren.
Full Dhar, bitches.
Who knows so much about Warhammer, it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. After gathering online to slay some vermin in the name of Sigmar, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance.
Hooray!
I wish you wouldn't use that word, Ben.
What, ignorance?
Yeah, that's our word, Ben. That's our word.
What, Dhar? Okay, we'll call you something different.
Hey, you keep saying it!
You know what? I just wish you wouldn't use words, full stop.
Okay, not using words. I'm going to do the rest of this show in interpretive dance. You can't see it right now, listeners, but I am voguing. What's wrong with your sinuses, Kral?
He's got nose aids.
Nades.
Feels like it. Just got a touch of the sniffles, and I'm feeling very sorry for myself. So prepare to hear the whinging.
But you are in a new house.
I'm in a new house, baby. And for those wondering what this is behind my head, it is state-of-the-art acoustic treatment in the form.
Talk us through this state-of-the-art acoustic treatment, Graham.
It's a scientifically designed piece of. It's a duvet over a rail, basically.
Right.
So, like you were talking last time about putting in an array of sanitary towels. That was just a joke, was it?
Yeah.
No, that's not a joke. They just didn't quite attack the frequency bands that I was after. They're a bit too narrow band, if you know what I mean. I needed something broadband.
As a feminist, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just a guy with a sheet and a pocket full of dreams.
Wow.
How are you guys doing, more importantly?
I was cleaning some 3D prints. That's Prince with a T, not Prince as in, son of a king. That'd be weird.
I want to be
the
a lover.
Artist formerly known as.
I want to be the son of You triggered me. I want to be a lover.
Nasal Prince.
Yeah, stick to the sneezing, son.
Naval Prince.
Naval. No. There are tangents and there are tangents. Yeah, so anyway, I was cleaning some 3D models that I'd printed. It was probably the safest way to say that. And spraying them with isopropyl alcohol. And what I had forgotten was I had a coffee sitting right next to me. So there was a layer of isopropyl alcohol misting on top of the coffee. Woo! I drank the whole thing.
And went, ooh, I think that's isopropyl alcohol, and then didn't go and wash the cup out, just continued to drink the coffee.
I drank the entire cup of coffee.
There's some coffee in my isopropyl alcohol, the word I can never fucking say.
These goddamn Ethiopians know how to make a coffee. It was an Ethiopian roast, yes. As in Ethiopian roasted coffee.
Whoa. You get up to in your own time, Darren. Fucking hell.
That is a different show. An Ethiopian roast. Brilliant.
Welcome to the Comedy Central roast of insert country here.
Oh, fucking hell.
What's right. That? Anyway.
Right.
God, we've not even got to the recap yet. What kind of show are you running here, Ben?
Well, we haven't even got to the support section. Segue support section. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. It allows us to fuel Kral with tissues for his runny nose, and Dhar.
There aren't enough tissues in the world.
And Dhar with his Ethiopian coffee and isopropyl alcohol.
Chris needs sanitary products.
If you would like to support the show, you can do so by jumping on Patreon. And for just £3, you can gain access to our Discord and support us. It's really nothing, isn't it? £3.
Sell it harder. Guys, if you want the time of your life, if you are interested in supporting this show, allowing us to produce the content we so love to make for you guys. We'd be honoured, privileged if you'd join us for a mere, how much, Ben? £3 a month?
£3, Crown.
Starting at £3 a month, that gets you access to Discord. It allows us to continue making this show. It allows us to keep feeding the community and doing all the stuff we love. Guys, that's how you sell, Ben.
Fuck it, I tell you, you should get other diseases, Chris. That's amazing.
Isn't it? Yeah. Also, Dhar, how do you feel he did in his audition to take over this part?
It would have been fine. I'd prefer to cast someone taller, but I think it'd be good.
That's okay. We can adjust the camera height. Don't worry. We can make him look taller.
I'm so massive now. This is going to be the show from now on.
Visual jokes on a podcast are amazing.
Yeah, at least they keep you entertained.
Yeah, man.
Well, there you go. So, as Chris said, what a deal. Kral, what can you get for an extra £2?
Sorry, can you speak up? I'm too high up here because I'm so tall. Can you say that again?
Do you want to come back down to ground level, pal?
There you go, yeah.
There he is.
Oh, that's better. Let me just crouch
extra.
down. Yeah.
£2 extra, what can you get?
I don't know.
Chunks of Dhar.
Chunks of Dhar.
What?
Yeah, for £2 extra. For £2 extra, for £5 a month, you get access to
the thing, yeah.
The bi-monthly Chunks of Dhar, which is our deep dive into more Warhammer lore, perhaps some of the areas that we didn't get to touch upon, or we just wanted to save behind a paywall in the main episode. So,
we talk shit about other countries. Yeah,
we do not do that. We do not absolutely do that, but we do have a right old romp, don't we, guys?
We do, yeah. I mean, it's interjected with Ben's right-wing assertions, but it's fine. It's a lot of fun.
I'm not hearing a no.
There are no such right-wing insertions, I think is the word you used. Other ways that you can support the show, we've got a merch site, and I don't think we actually mentioned it last episode. Maybe we did. I can't remember. It all merges into one. But
it all merges into one. Nailed it.
Hey, bam. Yes. Get in. That's it. So just head over to our site or to Redbubble, where all of our merch is sold, and you can get our faces on a fridge magnet, which
or pants.
Somebody bought the other day. I think we may have said this. Kral feels awful about it because now his face is on a random fridge somewhere in the world.
I know.
Yeah,
I quite enjoy it.
You know how I feel about fridges.
Not on a magnetic chastity belt. No, a fridge.
Or like a magnetic headband that the person
to
gets
be
their partner
fair,
to wear.
If you wanted something to kill your libido, our faces on some pants would absolutely solve that.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have mirrors in my bedroom. Yep.
Well, because
he has no reflection, Kral. That's why.
No, just I'm confused that mine is the only face. Yeah.
That you're in there alone. Anyway, if none of that interests you, but you still want to support the show, just head over to the Quartermaster link in the description, and it'll take you to all our affiliates and support platforms. Now, Kralbuman, you know what time it is?
Hawaii, pet.
Hello, Reichland. It's time for the WhatsApp recap.
Hooray! The WhatsApp recap for episode 41. We were continuing our look into the mortal followers of Chaos, mate. In particular, the Chaos champignons, the Chaos mushrooms.
What? Chaos mushrooms?
The Chaos champions. How to become a champ of Chaos, their role in mortal follower society. We also looked at some of the gifts bestowed upon the followers.
Some of the gifts, like memes. What?
Yes,
yeah.
Correct. Those short little 5-second, 10-second cartoon things that you get, animated things, absolutely.
10-second gif's a long gif, isn't it?
Is it?
It's a GIF.
Nice. So the gifts bestowed upon the followers, from anything from like throwing fireballs to losing all your limbs because the Chaos Gods don't really differentiate between a good and a bad thing. It's just a gift, and dagnammit, you'd be grateful for it.
It's a roll of the dice. It's a roll.
I'm worried that I wasn't clear about that. Those are the only two gifts.
Yeah, that's why I said them, Darren.
Just there's 1,000 different versions of those two gifts.
That's it. Yeah. We also looked at some of the groups of Chaos warbands that grow around the Chaos champions whilst they're on their quest for demonhood. I'm going to talk like this now for the rest of the recap. We looked at 4 infamous groups. Ben, can you name one of them, please, or at least one of the leaders of the warbands we spoke about?
Oh,
that's right.
No.
Gurney Ironarm, good old friendly Gurney. Leader of the Crimson Death, Warband of Khorne. We looked at Drusel Spittletoe. Which god did he follow? Which god was he a champion of? Drusel Spittletoe.
He was a member of the god of Lith.
Drusel Spittletoe. He was the Slaaneshi champion. That's right. I can't lisp with these aligners in. That's disappointing.
Oh, Chris.
But exactly.
Chris, you got your teeth in.
Oh, these things? Yeah, these are my teeth.
Oh, these
yeah.
Hey. Oh, you both got your teeth in, have you? Okay.
A bit of context there. I've got aligners in, listeners. I'm straightening out my teeth, and I made a big deal of it with it last week.
A bit of context for me. I've got dentures.
Okay, right. So context established. We were in France a couple of weekends ago, and Kral, at every available opportunity, just took the chance to say, "Oh, I'm just putting my teeth in," or "I'm just taking my teeth out." They were just fucking in and out the whole lot. It must have been, I don't know, 20, 30 times a day.
Exactly, yeah.
We're like, yeah, we get it, Kral. You've got your
fine. You've owned it. Great. Didn't get annoying at all, did it?
Nope.
Sacre bleu. Yeah, and then also we looked at a couple other warbands, the somewhat less structured warbands of Nurgle and Tzeentch, led by Lothar Bubonicus. Guess which god he was the champion of? And Werner Flamefist, who I think has a voice like Werner Herzog. I think he's Bavarian filmmaker and he also made a cameo in one of the Star Wars films as well, one of the new episodes, didn't he?
Nope, he was in The Mandalorian.
That's the one, yeah, exactly. That's what I was referring to.
Not a film, Chris. It's not a film.
You're a film. They're going to make a film on you.
Yeah, I tell you what, as long as it's a film of isopropyl alcohol, I don't care. Yay!
That's what it'll be. It'll be isopropyl alcohol recovery. I don't know, something degrading about you.
It's going to be an hour and a half of Chris trying to pronounce isopropyl alcohol.
Isopropyl alcohol. Not
isopropa.
Splud up, you spluddy sploo blue. Don't tell me how to speak proper English.
Right. Dhar.
Yeah.
Chaos Warriors, us.
Chaos Warrior me. What? You want me to hit you with something?
Hold on, let me get in position.
A Slaaneshi Chaos Warrior. We've discussed their culture and where they live and who some of their, or what some of their structures are. And now we're going to talk about their origins. Now,
oranges.
Chaos Warrior oranges.
Chaos. Yeah, it's
you gotta get that bit seeing, yeah.
Yeah, a Chaos Warrior orange is a melon. Yep. If fruits were champions of the Chaos gods, what Chaos god would match with what fruit?
Slaanesh is a banana.
It goes without saying. Didn't you have to say it? Yeah. Nurgle had to be a durian fruit.
Oh, yeah.
Good call. Yeah,
Great call.
Tzeentch. I was thinking pineapple, but I think there could be a weirder fruit. Should we put this out to the listeners?
Starfruit.
Guys. Fucking.
What fruit is Tzeentch?
Yeah, on whatever platform you listen to, wherever you can comment on Instagram or YouTube, whatever it is, or join our Discord and contribute on the Discord.
Nice crowd.
Yeah. Give us the most relevant fruit for Tzeentch. And who's the one we missed? Khorne.
Blood orange.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is the one but that's just a happenstance. Yeah. What about the great horned rat?
Oh, yeah. Rat fruit. Okay, so Tzeentch. It's a thing. Tzeentch and the horned rat, we want to know what fruit for them.
Yeah, man, and Queefle.
Right in.
Well, I think maybe the horned rat is a lemon, because you do tend to make a ratty face after you eat a bit of lemon.
No, that's a good one.
Some people love eating lemons, don't they?
That was a really ratty face, though.
Thank you very much.
Include a screenshot of that in the show notes.
Right, you bastards. You'll be all surprised to hear that the history of the Warriors of Chaos begins with the collapse of the Polar Gates, aka the Great Catastrophe, aka Rumble in the North and South. So that allowed the forces of chaos to enter non-consensually into the Warhammer world and corrupt everything that it touched. Of course, this was exacerbated then by all the demonic hordes following this cloud of change. I almost said this clown of change, but I caught myself.
The change clown. Oh no, not the change clown.
That would be so much more terrifying if chaos was just a clown of change.
Oh God, yeah.
But because it's chaos, it's a clown made completely of pennies.
A penny clown.
You're welcome. As the corruptive power and influence of chaos moves throughout the Warhammer world, it comes across, in some cases literally, the primitive tribes of men around the planet, and thus the first Chaos Warriors, or as they like to be known, Warriors of Chaos. And ultimately they brought through the power of chaos a lot of their kind of neighboring proto-civilizations under heel. Now, these were led by kind of enhanced warriors using male enhancements that are also available at the Quartermaster link on this. And chief amongst these was a chap called Belakor. Or rather, who became known as Belakor. He was
John Belakor.
Daniel Belakor. John was his younger brother. Daniel Belakor became the...
Belakor.
No, that's his dad. That's his dad, Stephen. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Belakor.
That's his granddad. Yeah.
Belakor the second.
I had run out of relatives.
Yeah.
Yeah, Belakor, or the person who became Belakor, was the first Chaos champion, and thus was an enormous focal point for the gods of Chaos and their plans to take over Warhammer World and turn it into something like a throbbing engine of warpstone slime, whatever,
Wow.
to produce more change and chaos, and thus be able to continue their endless game of one-upmanship against the other three chaos gods I'm referring to. Yeah, Belakor made a pilgrimage. In fact, he simply fought his way to the northern Chaos Gate and was physically vaporized and reforged as the very first demon prince. And he ascended into the realms of chaos and was courted by all four of the chaos gods because he was a servant of Chaos Undivided. And largely due to his own ego, he did not want to be beholden to anyone because he had not been beholden to anyone while he was a mortal. And while he was a chaos champion, he was the preeminent champion of chaos.
And he preferred it that way. He didn't He didn't want to be a prince.
No, he didn't want to be bound to anything. So he was now immortal, functionally immortal as a demon.
Do we know what his name was while he was immortal?
Just Daniel Belakor.
Before he was known as Belakor, it was just Daniel.
Well, yeah, to his enemies, Danny to his mates. And so, D-Dog. Or to use one that Ben uses all the time, D-Money. He was known as D-Money to his
D-Money.
Which, of course, then, when he was a demon prince, he was known as Demon Money. What the Chaos Gods were offering was leadership of their legions. So he would... to invade the mortal realm, and he was so hesitant to do this, they kept sort of renegotiating against themselves, and so each one offered even more power, even more abilities, even more demonic legions to lead, And so he accepted in turn all of their gifts and then disappeared. He went back into the mortal world and led an enormous collective of warriors of chaos, tribes, who worshipped him as a god, because he was the first demon prince. There were no other demon princes at this time.
What did they think did they know he was a demon prince, or did they just think he was some other entity?
Well, he was... There would have been legends about D-Money throughout the tribes, and so they knew of him, of his story, of his rise, of Belakor, but he had effectively, in their eyes, ascended to godhood, and so was worshipped as such. This kind of state of affairs lasted for about 1,000-ish years, 1,100 years, because then the Great Vortex was instituted by the High Elves, and the chaos energy was drained from the Warhammer world, and the demon legions started to evaporate from the planet because there wasn't enough kind of, magical energy keeping them there. The mana cost was too high. To paraphrase.
Did they literally just evaporate?
Yeah, they would literally just dissolve.
Wow.
They'd physically dissolve. Like when your man clicked his fingers in...
Thanos.
Yeah, that's the fella. They would literally just turn into smoke and evaporate away.
Nice.
But by that time, there were a lot more demon princes around, and many of them were dedicated to individual gods. In fact, almost all of them were. So Belakor went from being the one and only to just the first of many. And so any kind of sense of bargaining or, his position within the pantheon of chaos as the one and only simply disappeared. On top of that, he had screwed all the gods.
Yikes.
Maybe literally.
Doubled
who
down.
Can say? Yeah. Spiritually.
And so she was just like, I feel so used.
It's great.
Oh my God. That was the one and only time Slaneshi actually felt like dirty and ashamed.
Yeah, felt rejected.
He said it'd call.
So when ultimately the energy drained enough so that the kind of the more powerful demon princes started to evaporate into the realm of chaos, Belakor was the last one to go. And when he arrived, he was effectively shunned. He was ignored. Any of his pleas to get back into the mortal world where he is worshipped just disappeared. And his punishment was that he was not allowed to go into the mortal world again, other than with the approval of the Chaos Gods. And the Chaos Gods did not approve of him at that time. So it was many...
Computer says no.
Yeah. Realm of Chaos says no. So, it was the bones of 4,500 years before he was seen again in the mortal realms at all. And so he passed from existence. And when he returned, he was tasked with a very specific mission, and it became his reason for existence against his own will. But we'll touch on that shortly. So with the collapse of the polar gates and thus the washing of chaos over the whole of the world, the High Elves then, as we say, the High Elves created the Great Vortex, drained the energy from the world, so chaos really only operated in any kind of powerful mode around the north and south polar gates and the hidden third gate, if you can remember.
The hidden chaos nubbin.
The third nipple.
And so with the kind of abatement of chaos, we start to see a lot of the races expand into areas that are now safe. Safe in quotes, safer than they were when they were completely populated with demons. And thus, one of the races, the dwarves, expanded up and down the length of the World's Edge Mountains. And once they got to the very tippy-toppy, of the north, they headed east into Zorn Uzkul, which meant the Great Skull Land, where it was effectively a monster.
Full of candy.
It was yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah, okay.
Halloween candy, yeah. But it was referred to as that because it was the monstrous graveyard. It's where monsters of all shapes and sizes went to die, much like the fabled elephant graveyards of Africa and India. And so the entire plain was covered with bones and ivory in huge mounds as animals just kind of flop down wherever they could to die.
Was this where the undead dudes went to get the dragons? The undead dragon?
Yes, they went to the south of that, of what would become the Darklands.
Right.
Where the dragons go to, die, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because it's a very downbeat episode, isn't it?
And you can't mix them up either, can you? It has to be all the bones from a single dragon. You can't bric-a-brac a dragon.
It's easier if it's all from a single source, but you can do it from different sources. The vampire accounts have something called a winged nightmare, which is a monstrous horse-style animal made from various different other animals, I suppose. So you could have like a rhino with wings and a griffin's head,
sweet,
instead of a rhino's head. Which then, could you? Yeah, it could be a hippopotamus. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a horse with the head of a rhino, the body of a rhino, and the legs of a rhino.
Yeah. What was that from Blackadder? The monstrous animal. It had 2 heads and 8 legs and 2 bodies, and it looked like 2 horses. But it was in fact one monster. So over the centuries, chaos ebbs and flows, and in one of the flowings, it cut off the dwarves that lived in Zorn Uzkul from the rest of the dwarven realms. And it's at this stage where chaos washes over Zorn Uzkul in huge tides. Perhaps accidentally, perhaps chaotically, perhaps on purpose. Who can say? Well, Tzeentch, I suppose. And it causes the dwarves that live there untold problems. And eventually they turn from their ancestor gods and from their brother clans of dwarves, and they fall into worship of what's referred to as a minor chaos god called Hashut, who is the father of darkness, the god of smoke and tyranny, which makes me think it's a fascist with a pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, just well into weed.
Yeah. Oh God, have you ever talked to someone whose life is about weed? It's so dull.
Yeah, so you run a show with him.
Hi.
No.
Hi.
Man, have you ever smoked like the California ginge? Man, it's like...
I got a bag of this
like
new
that
stuff, man. It's called This One's Permanent.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I've tried California ginge. Made me very itchy. This is where we see the birth of the race that becomes the Chaos Dwarves. They are saved from the mutation power of chaos. They don't mutate with all the kind of chaotic energy washing over them through worshipping the god Hashut, who protects them not only from mutation, but gives them abilities and powers and a religion to replace that which they have lost from the ancestor gods. So they end up being evil blacksmiths.
Did you say mutations? Ben. I don't think I'm feeling so well, Ben.
You don't look so good, Krell.
Ben, you're looking a bit funky as well, mate.
What's
going on? Oh, no. Oh, what's happened? Oh, we've mutated. We must have rolled a 3 or something on the 1,000 roll dice. We've mutated, Darren. What do you think?
What do you think, Darren?
Words fail me.
Would you like to explain to the listeners what you're looking at?
They've got some sort of venereal disease that makes their cock look like a tentacle.
These are Seattle Kraken tentacles, little foam tentacles. So from now on,
Fear the deep.
I do fear the deep.
Isn't that a title of a hentai series? Please yourselves.
No, that's what the direct interpretation of a translation of Urtosuki Duji is.
Yeah. Well, technically, you should chop off your wanger and attach that in its place.
Yeah. Anyway, I convinced Kral to buy these, much to his dismay when he discovered how expensive they were, because we had to get them shipped over from America. So listeners, if you hear us ask a question, it's because we have raised our tentacles.
You've raised the tentacle. Well, I mean, with these and the France trip, I've never felt so fucking excluded from a group in my life.
We did these for you. This is for you.
And we went to France for you as well.
Yeah.
All right.
I went to France and got gastritis from our friends' kids for you. I hope you're happy.
Stop eating the kids. I mean, they have food in France. Apparently, it's very good. Yeah, I love how you were trying to justify that with the toxic, I did it for you. No, love, no. When I was having sex with her, I was getting the demons out so that we could have a good relationship at home. Yeah.
I'm going to use that one.
Anyway, yes, Chaos Dwarves. Not part of Warriors of Chaos, but also technically part of Warriors of Chaos. But that's their origin story. And we'll dig into the horrific benefits of worshipping the god Hashut when we do the Chaos Dwarves, or Chorfs, as they enjoy being called online. The issue with early Warriors of Chaos is there's really not very much detail in terms of heroes or champions or great leaders. And in fact, it's not until nearly 3,000, 4,000 years after the advent of the collapse of the Polar Gates where you get your first recorded named Chaos Lord, a Chaos Lord by the name of Vladis, who was...
Vladis.
Chaos Lord Vladis, who... was out raiding in a series of raids, I suppose, while he was sailing. So he was in the longships, Vikinging around the place, where as they were going through the ocean, you can't even call it the Atlantic
as longships
Ocean.
do.
Yeah, as longships do. They go on water. Yeah. I've been told. They were suddenly... Their path was suddenly blocked by a stepped pyramid raising from the sea, and then they were attacked by a series of small webbed-fingered lizard men, and they were trying to wipe out this force of chaos, but the day was saved by Vladis's chaos sorcerers when they called down an enormous meteor or comet to destroy the pyramid city. It absolutely leveled it flat, and then it sunk. Yeah.
Holy
so
shit.
That's the first named Chaos Lord outside of D-Money, obviously.
Wow. Venison. Great name.
Not
Great
venison, Vladis.
Like a Russian young deer.
Crickets. Of interesting note, and certainly since the advent of Total Warhammer 3, or Total War Warhammer 3, we see a greater focus on the history and details of Cathay. And so it's around the same time as Vladis is having his deep sea battle that the Dragon Emperor of Grand Cathay, who has united all of the various civilizations and tribes within that land, begins to worry about all the raiders that are coming down from the north. So he builds an enormous wall called the Great Bastion which is also known as the Dragon Spine, but it stops chaos invasions coming down from the north. So it's analogous to the Great Wall of China, which they built to protect themselves from the Mongol hordes. It's exactly the same kind of story, but with a Warhammer veneer. And so that was one of the very first attempts to withstand the great forces of chaos. A couple of hundred years later, we start seeing the armies of chaos raid down on the other side of the world now that the Great Spine... Yes, Mr. Ben, you've raised a tentacle.
The mention of Cathay, is that quite uncommon? They haven't developed that, have they?
Not really. I mean, they've done it in broad strokes in support of the computer game. There had been some detail dotted in and around other Warhammer Army books. For instance, the Kingdom of Ind, which is India, that gets mentioned in a couple of Warhammer Army books, and Cathay is mentioned, but it's always as in this kind of mysterious Orient. It has that kind of colonial, kind of Western notion of the mysterious East. It's a romanticized kind of pitch of it, much in the same way as Araby is discussed in the Warhammer books. So it's the fairy tale version of both kingdoms. I'm using quotes, non-tentacled quotes around.
We don't allow those in this series.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
So with the raiding routes to Cathay and its lands cut off, we start seeing raids down into what would be evil Canada, so Nagaroth, and we see raids penetrate quite deeply into Nagaroth, and a lot of Chaos Warriors, as we would understand them, the kind of slab-armoured warriors from the north, land on the shores and attack from the north at the same time in a sort of pincer movement, which you can't really do with tentacles. And, I suppose if you've got two.
It's more of a slap.
Yeah.
You've been tangoed. You've been tentacled.
Yeah. And so the raids and the invasion got so bad that the Witch King himself had to enter into the battle around the Tower of Grond to kind of save the day. It was that dire of a threat to the kind of early-ish existence of the Dark Elves. They were able to beat them back, obviously, but the...
Mush! Ka-cha! Ka-cha! With a whip and a chair. Ka-cha! Ka-cha!
A tentacle and a chair crown.
That's what I said.
The tentacle was implied. Yeah.
Yeah. Idiot.
If we needed a new tagline for the podcast, the tentacle is implied.
Yeah. That's a t-shirt.
Yeah. Ultimately, the threat of chaos to the forces of the Dark Elves led them to create the Watchtowers, the 11 enormous city-sized towers that kind of perform the perforated edge of evil Canada. I think one was called Akon or Aakon. Shagrath.
Akon? Like the 90s R&B singer?
Yes, he's actually named after the thing because he's a big Warhammer fan. Moving on.
When you say they're city-sized towers, what do you mean? Are they?
They're very, very big towers.
Are they wide as a city? Or are they?
They are.
We're going to get into Black Rock Pass again.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Think of a wall.
If you had a city and then flipped it up, and it's Black Fire Pass, not Black Rock Pass.
Oh, Black Rock's the bar, isn't it?
No. Black Crag is... What the fuck has this become?
I'm just testing you. Make sure...
you are. You really are. New from Chaos Marmot Publishing. Betrayed by Sigmar. Prepare for scandal and secrets exposed in the most sensational book of the century. Dive into the untold stories of betrayal, forbidden desire, blueberry lube, and dark truths as Azazel recounts his tumultuous relationship with Sigmar. Giving it his maximum 6 spiked butt plugs, Sigvald Magnificent calls it a decadent delight. A masterful tapestry of treachery and desire, its scandalous revelations are as intoxicating as they are damning. It has, however, drawn condemnation from certain quarters, notably the Grand Theogenist, Volkmar the Grim, who calls it a vile and blasphemous mockery of all that is holy. A book that should be burned and its author condemned to eternal damnation. Would not recommend. Uncover the shocking details that Sigmar never wanted you to know. Pre-order your copy now, before it's banned. We now see the threat from the north is causing huge problems, and so two cultures have effectively dealt with it in different ways. One has just walled it off so that they can't get access, and the other has used it as an
They're just in
opportunity.
denial. No, it's not happening.
No.
Not happening. No.
Just
Refuse to
fingers
believe.
in their ears. No.
Yeah.
La 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 la.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, no. What do you mean a wall has two sides? There's only one side on this wall. No, there's not. There's nothing there. Yeah. And dark elves being dark elves, and the kind of machinations of the Witch King, the Darwinian civilization that he's created, has used those great series of watchtowers as a place to dump the kind of unworthy, or to put the dark elf nobles that he wants tested or refined into better warriors or more devious leaders into these watchtowers to fight constantly against the forces of chaos that are continuously trying to get in to Nagaroth.
Do they send criminals and whatnot to the towers to guard them as well?
Not really. They send those out of favor, or those that they want tested or refined into better.
Right. Okay.
A kind of do or die sort of.
Is it a little
aspect.
bit like the Black Watch from Game of Thrones?
Yes, it's that kind of idea. Yeah. But they can be made good and back into Dark Elf society if they have a series of victorious battles. That kind of idea.
Okay.
Right, so anyway, we get now to the rat-headed beastmen of the lower
goat-headed?
Old World. No, I'm talking about Skaven, you tool.
Growl.
If you recall that they had this great engine underneath Skaven Blight that they were going to split open all the kind of chasms of the underworld and be able to expand into it. Well, that detonates, and not only does it cause the collapse of many areas of the Dwarven Kingdom, again throughout the mountain ranges, it also crumbles sections of the Great Bastion, of the Great Wall. So the Skaven not only cause the slow decline of the Dwarven Kingdom, but they cause immense problems for the people of Cathay on the other side of the world. And thus, the tribes of the Warriors of Chaos, the Tong, I think the Kurgan as well, are able to get in and cause all kinds of problems. As Cathay is being invaded and penetrated, and other words that we use a lot, the chaos cult of Tzeentch, under the name of Xian Qi, which is the Cathayan name for Tzeentch, begins to corrupt the aristocracy of Cathay and cause significant problems in terms of everything is a chess move or a go move, or everything is done with a purpose tied into a plan that won't see fruition for hundreds of years.
Everything's done with a purpose.
Yes. It sort of implies that the, in quotes, inscrutable nature that the Western world has always applied to the specifically to China, but a lot of the Eastern countries, this was manifested by the chaos cult of Tzeentch within that country. So it's a bit stereotypical. So I'm a bit uncomfortable. So we'll move on.
Okay.
So while all that is kind of roiling around in Cathay, we start seeing the armies of chaos ally themselves with other kingdoms and mercenaries around the old world in Kislev. And of note, they start to connect to ogre tribes. And this is where we start seeing chaos ogres come in. This is the kind of birthplace of that alliance, which will ultimately see tribes of ogres go over to chaos and become mutated, although lesser so than other races, because they're quite resistant. They're not immune, but they're quite resistant. Very similar to the dwarves, regular
What kind
dwarves.
of
They'll just get like a rash.
Yeah, they shrink. They're just
Halflings.
Dashingly handsome.
Halflings are actually chaos ogres. Yeah.
Yeah, with a bad
Love it. Love that.
So, of note, we see that a chaos lord known as Deach, the Merciless, agrees to hire an entire ogre tribe. Rent an ogre.
Rent an ogre.
Ogres are us. And the agreed wage is 1 human per ogre per day.
to eat.
What, as in food?
As in food.
Right.
So,
Okay.
But so it's
How would a human eat a whole ogre? Every day. I don't know.
every day.
They would grow into an ogre.
Yeah. Groger.
Technically, they sort of do because the ogres eat them and use the protein to get up more mass, get buff.
Yeah.
Beefcake.
Yeah.
So this is a huge kind of boon to the forces of chaos, because not only do they get these enormous hulking masses of muscle to fight on their side, but it also, again, in this Darwinian kind of style, gets rid of the weakest of the forces of chaos and their prisoners. So you don't really have to...
Everybody wins.
Yeah, it's a win-win unless you are...
I thought it was pretty barbaric to begin with, but actually... That's a really good system, you know? I'm humbled.
Humble. Do you know, I'm going to change how I live my life.
Really.
So we start to see a lot more champions of chaos, and we'll get into some of those when we deal with specific heroes. But of note, perhaps, is Arbol the Undefeated, the destroyer of Khorne, as he becomes. So he marches to the Plane of Skulls, which is the area in the realm of chaos where Khorne lives. That's where Khorne abides within I was about to say the Ethereum, which I believe is a type of cryptocurrency.
So the Field of Skulls, the Plane of Skulls, was
That's
that?
very true.
The Plane of Skulls. And his intent is, because he has faced every champion he could find and killed them, is that no one else is worthy. So he goes and tries to kill Khorne.
Wow.
He wants to challenge him. He's never heard from again.
Well, you wouldn't, would you?
In his lifetime.
It's like who's the Russian mercenary leader who unfortunately, coincidentally died on that plane crash after almost causing a mutiny?
Oh, yeah.
Rasputin. What?
No. I know, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You stand against your leader.
Yeah.
This is what you get.
Yeah, but the implication there is that that who he was trying to stand against was like an ethereal being. You know what I mean? Like saying, I'm going to go and challenge Khorne is like saying, I'm going to go and beat the sea.
And maybe that's why I was never seen of again. It's like he tried to fight the sea, drowned in his armor. Like Khorne was just an idea. Do you know what I mean? It's like Khorne's in all of us, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah, it's almost as stupid as fighting a war on terror.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Or war on drugs.
War on drugs. I'm going to fight a war against violence. What?
Oh dear.
So we're starting to see a lot more interaction, in quotes, between the forces of chaos and a lot of the other races. Specifically, or rather, chiefly amongst them humans, because those are the ones that have the capacity to change sides most often and offer the best kind of foot troops for the forces of Chaos. Now, we're moving towards 0 BS, which is not a thing we've ever attempted before. We're going to talk about a chap called Gerreon. Gerreon. Yeah, Gerreon.
Gerreon.
Gerreon, thank you, I will, is a member of the Unberogen tribe, which is the tribe of Sigmar. And he was a friend. He was a friend of Sigmar. Not his best friend, just a friend.
A buddy.
Sigmar.
Like an acquaintance.
And Gerreon has a great name, but it's nowhere near as good as his twin brother, whose name was Trinovantes.
Wow.
Ole.
I just think that's such a great name. Trinovantes. Both of them had an older sister called Ravenna. And Ravenna was Sigmar's little sweetheart. Sigmar was quite enamored with her.
His daughter.
No, his
Lover.
uncle.
What? I
thought we were
Lavenna
playing-
was the sister of the
Yeah, so Gerreon and Trinovantes were twins.
Yeah.
They had an older sister called Ravenna,
Yeah.
and Ravenna
Yeah.
was Sigmar's sweetheart.
They were lovers.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you're going to be mature about it, Chris, yes.
I just need you to be a bit more explicit, more specific.
It's not his sister. Have you ever heard anybody refer to their sister as a sweetheart?
No, I thought daughter or something like the apple of his eye or something like that. I don't know.
Never have kids.
Okay. Done.
Sold.
So Trinovantes was Sigmar's best friend, and Sigmar was in love with Trinovantes' older sister, Ravenna. Now, is that explicit enough, or do you want me to get into the...
Do you have an overhead projector? We need to...
Do you have an overhead? So Sigmar took his tentacle.
Sigmar.
And... Sigmar. So they were bosom buddies, and Trinovantes was effectively Sigmar's shield bearer, and they fought
lover.
side by side. No. So, yes, at the Battle of Astafan Bridge, Trinovantes had his wrist broken by an attack, and ultimately was unable to continue fighting and was killed. And so Trinovantes' body was brought back to Reichdorf, which was the Unberogen capital of the time. And despite Trinovantes dying a huge, noble, and heroic death, Gerreon blamed Sigmar for it. He became the kind of target of Gerreon's grief and hatred. And despite Ravenna trying to reason with Gerreon, he remained determined to hold Sigmar to account. And even when Sigmar offered kind of the role of the shield bearer to him, and publicly displayed his grief at the passing of Trinovantes, Gerreon was kind of unmoved by this, and a dire hatred of Sigmar began to blossom in his, that's right, bosom.
Wow. Dark.
Oh, that's the end of the story. It wasn't going anywhere. But, yeah.
Trinovante.
Yeah.
I think that's the name with the most syllables I've heard in the Warhammer lore. Trinovante. Trini for short.
Whoa. So Gerreon decided to play the long game. He would wait for his most opportune moment to strike at Sigmar and get back at him for the death of his brother. So this lent him to be publicly very kind of faithful to Sigmar after, an understandable, tumultuous period of grief. He was given the benefit of the doubt and ultimately fought his way back into the good graces of the Unberogen tribe. And at one instance at the Battle of Barren Hills, he actually saves Sigmar's life by killing an orc war boss that had pinned Sigmar underneath the body of a giant wolf of the orc's mount.
Oh.
While all of this was happening, Gerreon was teaching the warriors of the Umbarogan tribe and of some of the others to use swords instead of blunted weapons. And so they moved from this kind of cudgeling, mace-wielding, club-wielding warriors to...
Smashers to jabbers.
Yeah, smashers to jabbers. That's why we keep you around for the natty phrases, yeah. But it also taught...
Smash to jab in 3 easy steps. Who introduced them to this?
Gerreon.
With Gerreon's 3-step, no-fail quibble plan.
Step 1, put down hammer. Step 2, pick up pointer.
Sword. Step 3, get jabbing.
Get jabbing.
I used to be a smasher, but my life turned around when I read Girion's 3 easy steps from smash to jab. Thanks, Girion. You've changed my life. Well, there's an advert for you right there. You're welcome.
Done. Stick some music behind that. Bam.
So all through this time, while Gerreon is outwardly a loyal and innovative friend, not only to Sigmar, but a leader to the tribe as well, his resentment now is turned kind of cold and hard, like my steak that one time.
Like Ben's Johnson.
Fucking hell. Like my love life.
So while he's outwardly very loyal and a leader, it's very much like the kind of Macbeth storyline where he goes off and he's trying to find out ways, what's the best way to get back at Sigmar. So he goes beyond just hating him. He's now actively trying to find a way to bring him down. And it leads him to a being known as the Hag of Brackenwalsh, who counsels Sigmar that you should look for omens, and that will mark the time when it's the best opportunity to strike at Sigmar will present itself.
Right after dinner. Always the best time. Proper disarmed.
Just when he's tired from a day of stabbing.
Yeah.
It's, jabbing. I apologize, jabbing. So when the tribe rode out to war in 9 years before the kind of the crowning of Sigmar.
The crowning. Ew.
Ew.
It's crowning.
He was jabbing before he was crowning. Wow. That must have been uncomfortable for the mother.
So he returns to Brackenwalsh again, and under the guidance of the Hag, he finds, as he's kind of walking around, he's drawn to an area where there is hemlock, a poison, and he decides to harvest this and poison a dagger so that he can get
jabbing
Sigmar, get a good septic jab to Sigmar. And as he's doing this, he senses a being around him that's gazing down at him from Morsleep, from the great chaos moon of the Warhammer world. And he realizes that this was ultimately going to be his destiny, regardless of whatever he did. Everything that had happened at the behest of some enormous dark consciousness that was driving him forward to...
The moon told me to do it.
Yeah, the moon told me to do it.
Okay.
So while Sigmar was with his sister Ravenna, he confronted him and... What?
Did you say... Oh, with Gerreon's sister. The way you
Jesus Christ, I'm going to have to draw a flow
the
chart.
way that you said it.
Is this what I'm going to have to start
Sigmar
doing?
was with his sister Ravenna. It's like, that wasn't his sister.
I think he was
You
just
can all go
taking the
fuck
piss out of me.
Do your own podcasts.
I got it, Darren.
Okay.
I
So
got the
when
jibe.
Sigmar was with Gerion's sister Ravenna, go on.
He blamed Sigmar for the death of Trinovantes and said that he had waited these 6 years to strike at him and then struck at him. So he lunged forward with his poison blade
And jabbed him.
and drove it. Yeah, and jabbed him. But unfortunately, his sister, Gerrion's sister, not Sigmar's
Right.
sister, Sigmar didn't have a sister, lunged into the path of the blade, and the blade went straight through her stomach and then into Sigmar. So he kind of double fisted his sister and Sigmar with the blade.
Long blade to go through two people. So it's less of a dagger, more of a sword, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A long dagger, a short sword.
Short sword, long dagger. That really does sound like a salesman who's taken delivery of a set of weapons that he didn't really order. You said these were daggers.
It's like, well, it's a bit of a short sword, long dagger kind of situation, isn't it, really?
It really is like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Okay, that's another phrase we're trademarking. It's a bit of a long dagger, short sword situation.
So I'm assuming then that all the hemlock had rubbed off by the time it had got through her.
Yes. No, it was in Sigmar. Sigmar was poisoned as well. So
right, okay.
Ravenna died, and Sigmar became so incredibly weakened that Girion just simply pushed him into the pool of water that they were standing next to. I mean, that does make him sound like he pushed him into an inch of milk in a bowl for breakfast, but it was a sizable body
just
of
a small
water.
pond. It was a puddle.
His
It was
one
a puddle.
weakness.
Not the puddle.
Oh no, now I'm all wet.
But Sigmar being Sigmar, he survived, and Gerrion's name became a curse.
Being
amongst
moist never defeated
the
me.
Umberogan.
Ah.
This poison did. So Gerreon fled north across the Sea of Claws, probably in a boat. Maybe he was just running really quickly. Who can say? And ultimately joined forces with the Norscan evildoers under the guidance of a sorcerer called Kar Odekan. Odesan? Odekan.
Kar
No,
Odesan.
Do you have problems grouting your tiles? Use Kar Odesan. And so ultimately, upon hearing the tale of Gerrion's life, Kar Odesan revealed his true name, that in fact he had always been really this being known as Azazel.
Just took off a shit wig. Aha!
and-
I'm actually this person. Cunning bastard.
Hold my blades of indeterminate length. So under the shaman's guidance, he not only taught the kind of ruthless ways of bladed combat to the warriors of the north, but ultimately went on a pilgrimage where he served, or he swore himself to the service of Slaanesh, the Dark Prince of indeterminate gender. Returning, they joined forces with Cormac Bloodaxe, who was the High King and Champion of Khorne of the great forces of the north. And Azazel, even though he was a Slaaneshi champion at this stage, got together with Cormac and brought his followers and the shaman under the leadership of Cormac Bloodaxe, and then journeyed back into the lands of the Umberogan tribe in order to kill the hag that had given him the advice in the first place, because there's some aspect of him that blamed the hag for his fall to chaos. Ultimately, the forces of the kind of nascent empire faced off against a much more regimented and organized army of northern warriors who fought in similar tactics to themselves because of the teachings of Azazel, as he is now named, and their aim was to get to the imperial city of Middenheim, where the shaman Kar Odyssein, the grouting shaman of chaos, had seen a vision that the city would fall and the flame of Ulrich would be extinguished. Now, Ulrich, the god of winter and wolves, in modern, in quotes, empire, was Sigmar's patron deity. Sigmar worshipped Ulrich, as did most of the tribes of the time. So a strike against the kind of the seat of power of the faith of Ulrich would be a strike against the entire kind of existential faith of the human tribes within that kingdom or empire. So with the goal of the destruction of the temple of Ulrich in mind, the forces of Cormac Bloodaxe laid siege to Middenheim, and on the 13th day were actually able to breach the defences and get into Middenheim itself, empowered really by the summoning of an enormous greater demon of Khorne, a bloodthirster, at the behest of Cormac Bloodaxe. They got through into the kind of heart of the city, where Azazel fought against the very first Count of Middenheim, who was also the banner bearer of Sigmar, a chap called Pendrag. You know, it's an Arthurian Pendragon.
Nice.
Interestingly, one of my favourite porn film titles was a parody of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon called Crotchless Trousers Something's Dragon. I thought it was great.
Brilliant.
Anyway, Pendrag. So
just on a side note, Cormac is a shit name for a Chaos warrior, for anyone in Chaos. It sounds like John Bloodaxe.
Arthur Bloodaxe.
Yeah, it's just too common.
And so Azazel was en route to fulfill the prophecy announced by the grouting shaman of chaos, whose name I have already forgotten. Kar Odyssein?
Percy Groutalot.
Percy and the Knights of B&Q. What? When he was hit by a crossbow bolt. So he was on his way to get in, still human, although a chaos champion, hit by a bolt from the crossbow of Misra, the warrior eternal. A female crossbow champion of the empire.
Who then died.
No, she was fine.
Oh, okay. Because she's eternal.
Because she's eternal. Well, yeah, it's the clue's in the name. But ultimately, Azazel was forced to flee Middenheim, and thus the shaman, Kar Odyssein, just lost his temper, because obviously you're so close to your goal. No. He threw his toys at the pram and just lay on the floor, flailing like a toddler, saying, why are we retreating? You're so close to getting the goal. But Azazel simply said that, the victory doesn't have to be today. The prophecies can still come true. So they fled. And the anger and rage of the nascent empire was so strong that they were the only two survivors recorded from the kind of chaos force, the chaos army that had set siege to Middenheim, and they fled north.
Yikes.
Pursued by Sigmar and his kind of band of champions and their kind of, bannermen, trying to get a hold of Gerreon, as was, to avenge the kind of betrayal of Sigmar, but also the murder of Sigmar's love, who was or was not his sister. It's still unclear. So that's a really bad retelling of a series of novels from the time of Legends about Sigmar's life. This is where we get into a series of inconsistencies with regards to the timeline. It's recorded as Azazel or Gerreon fled. They went through the village. They went from village to village of the kind of Norse raiders, and each village was destroyed by Sigmar and his forces in turn, and the populace wiped out. And Azazel and Carodison fled. In one of these villages, I can't remember the name of the village, but the tribe was the Talos tribe of southern Norska. They escaped with a young boy called Morkar, who eventually would become the very first Everchosen of Chaos and would return into the Empire at the head of a huge host and would destroy as much of the Empire as possible and try and fulfill that prophecy of raiding the Temple of Ulrich and ultimately ruling over the Empire as an element of chaos, or as a kingdom of chaos. The reason that there's inconsistency is, yes, Morkar is the very first Chaos champion, or the very first Everchosen of Chaos. But in some books, Morkar led the forces of Chaos to attack Ulthuan while they were setting up the Great Vortex. In the books written about Sigmar's life and the tale of Gerreon, who became Azazel, Morkar is a child, as in, a 10 or 11-year-old child, but within a few years, in other aspects of Warhammer or other Warhammer Army books, he is a kind of mature champion of chaos who leads the forces of chaos back into the Empire to destroy the newly founded Empire, where Sigmar is the emperor for the first time, who thus must be, he must have aged, 20 years in 3 years, in 4 years? So there's a lot of inconsistencies around this time in the lore. But we'll close out this episode by saying, in terms of the importance of an Everchosen of Chaos, so the Everchosen are the mortal champions of all 4 Chaos gods at once. That is not the same as Chaos Undivided. So they're granted gifts specific to each Chaos God from each Chaos God, and fight for all 4, rather than the kind of nebulous concept of chaos. Thus, they have to pass through a great number of trials, and we'll go through all of this in a bit more detail when we discuss the most recent Everchosen of Chaos.
Like a chaos obstacle course.
Yes, exactly right. Like Takeshi's Castle, but chaos. If you could imagine a more chaotic version of Takeshi's Castle. I was going to say, it's already
pretty chaotic, isn't it?
Brilliant.
But the kind of the ultimate ceremony when they become the Everchosen of Chaos, they are crowned by Belakor, who is the harbinger of chaos.
Grumbling.
The Everchosen. Yeah. So he places the crown on the head of the Everchosen of Chaos, who kind of manifestly represents what Belakor desired most in his existence, which was to be the ultimate general and leader of all the forces of chaos in the Warhammer world, whether it's mortal or demonic or beastmen. He is forced to be second best for eternity, and that's an aspect of his punishment. But in terms of the initial history of chaos, yes, it's a little bit sporadic in terms of its recording. It suffers a lot from what the orcs had. If you remember when we went through the kind of greenskin history, it's their history is recorded by others. Yeah.
They don't record their own.
It's where chaos exactly right. So it's they live with, as I think we discussed on the most recent COD recording, the totemic nature of chaos religion means that they don't really keep records. There's no lore keeper of chaos as there is in, elven culture or dwarven culture. It's really the evidence of their existence is found in the histories of other races. But this episode, brings us from the collapse of the polar gates to the year 0 in the imperial calendar. Well, year 1. So 1 AS. And that's where we'll close it out, and we'll talk about the next chunk next time, because that's how that works.
It is. That's how that works.
Chaos.
Thoughts on the initial history of chaos.
What am I thought? I thought it was tentacle-tastic.
Tentacular.
It was tentacular.
I thought it was really distracting, if I'm going to be totally honest.
What, me rubbing myself in the face with a tentacle?
Well, no, I think it's rubbing my otherness in my face with my lack of inclusion. Yeah.
Oh, for
Feels
God's
great.
sake!
I knew I'd get them. Listeners.
It was about you. It was for you.
Yeah, it was for you.
This is the whole point of the tentacles. It was based around you. So
you've no idea the amount of
you
conversation.
could not be more involved if you tried.
Like, how can we kind of surprise Dhar the most with these things?
Oh, it was surprising.
Yeah.
It was surprising.
Look at my
I was speechless.
Nice crowd.
What you need is to get 2 of them and have them as a huge moustache.
Yeah.
Or a goatee. Ooh. That's his attitude.
It looks like a pipe, doesn't it? Like, oh, hello, sir.
Or an ear horn. What?
Yeah. Say what?
An ear trumpet, sorry.
Listeners, these things are all fucking hilarious if you can actually see them. No, it was good. I think
it revolved around Sigmar, as does everything in the world of Warhammer.
Towards the end of it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Sigmar centric.
Absolutely. I'd like to ask some questions, but I drifted in and out because I'm not feeling very well. So,
well, pick a question, Chris. Pick a question.
All right. When dwarves,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I think I really like the mention of Cathay and kind of their involvement in it. And I think it's funny. I think we may have mentioned it in a previous episode, but like seeing the map at the very top of at the very northern tip of the planet, it's starting to link the various areas together, and it feels like it's almost like the Warriors of Chaos were the kind of missing glue that's all kind of gelling the various factions in the various areas together. So it's kind of painting a kind of clearer picture of the whole for me, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I mean, ultimately we'll be able to fill your hole with the Empire.
Excellent.
Baby.
That's all I've ever asked for. That's all I ever wanted.
Fill my hole with medieval Germanic men.
Get out of my diary.
That's the straightest thing I've heard you say.
And on that note, should we wrap up?
No.
Yeah, Mum.
All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules and merchandise. Again, if you're keen to support the show, just click on the Quartermaster link in the description and give us all your chaos bucks. We'll be back again soon, displaying just how little Chris and I know about Chaos Warriors, and hopefully Kral will have some questions then. Until then, goodbye.
See you later, everybody. Ciao.
I wonder what I'm going to surprise the lads with the next record. Toodaloo.